Hi friends, thanks for joining me today, and we are going to do a fun little project of a coastal theme with sea turtles. And so for today's project I thought I would do some watercolor painting and then some accents and details with brush markers, something a little bit different than what I normally do. And I just wanted to have a couple of these little sea turtles out that I've drawn and painted in the past. And so I'm going to set those aside. And then for today's actual project, here is my piece of watercolor paper along with, I had lightly drawn a sea turtle with a background of some coral. And I'm not sure if you can see that in the video, but I lightly drew that on there. So that's what we'll be working with. And then real quick for the materials list, along with that, I do have my watercolor paints. I have my number 8 round brush, and this is also a number 8 round brush. However, the tip of this is much pointier. So I'll be using that, and then I will be using several different colors of my brush markers. And just briefly, the brush markers on one end, they are an actual brush. And then on the other end, they're a fine tip marker. And so that does kind of come in handy, you know, to give a lot of different looks to a piece of artwork. And then I have my paint or my water to clean my brush, and then obviously some paper towels to blot them. So to get started, what I am going to do is work on the bottom, the ocean floor, and I'll just put in a little bit of a background, and then that's what I'm going to do with each of these layers, is put in a base color and then let it dry, add layer upon layer on top of that, just to give it some depth and some really nice a really nice look. So to get started, I'm going to be using some of my browns, and I do apologize if these are not visible in the viewing area, but it's just a brown, and I'm going to kind of very lightly color this in. And this is the seabed, and I want to use a lot of water on this. And get some different depths of color, you know. And then, as I mentioned, we'll be making some details later on this. And we'll be doing that with each one of the layers that we're working with. Okay, so we have the base of that down. And then I'm going to start on the sea turtle. And for the sea turtle, I'm going to be grabbing some of my green, and I'm kind of mixing up my sap green along with a little bit of hooker's green, just to give it kind of a warm greenish color. And the sap green adds in just a hint of yellowish tone. And so it's pretty much the same thing for the turtle. I'm just putting down like basically a base color, and then we'll go from there as this dries. And I'm going to be moving my paper around a little bit just so that I don't run my hand across any of the wet paint from other areas. And so for the legs, I'm going just a little bit lighter. And you'll see once we start working with the markers and adding layer upon layer and the textures and the different colors, it really brings it to life, makes it pop. Okay. And as you can see, this is a relatively light base that I'm putting on here. And I am working wet on dry. And so for the head portion of this, I'm kind of going around where the big turtle eye is going to be. And we'll kind of be working that in a little bit down the road. And then let's get the back leg in here. And you can see right now there's not a whole lot of detail to any of this. It's just the base of it. And it'll all start coming together as we go along. So for the, I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to let the bottom dry. And while those two are drying, I think what I'm going to do is just put in some of the nice blue water portion of this. And to do this, the one thing that I did forget to mention earlier is I'm going to use some white gouache. And that's just going to give us a little bit of character and texture into our blue paint, our water, our blue water. Okay, so let's grab some of the, this is a phthalo blue, and I'm going to turn this upside down. And with this, I am just working wet on dry once again, and this is with some blue. And I'm trying to stay away from the other colors because I don't want it to blend. And so we can always kind of fine tune this as we go along. And I'm adding a lot of water because I do want this to be relatively light as we go. And I do want to stay away from the green just ever so lightly. Okay, so now that we have this portion started, what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of the white gouache, and you can see I'll tap in a little bit of white here and there, and it's just adding a little bit of character and texture to the whole sea life, the whole water here. And so and I'm just kind of going around right now, like where I have my light pencil drawing for the coral. And I just want to get a little bit of the blue going here. We'll move this around a little bit. I probably could have used a larger brush on this portion of it, but this is working okay for the size of paper that I have going on. So let's just kind of get this painted in. And we don't want the same, the same depth of blue. We want some darker, some lighter. Not quite that dark, but that's okay. We'll just add a little bit of water to this and kind of work it all out as we go. And then what you may want to do down towards the bottom, keep it a little bit darker. And as you go towards the top, make it just a little lighter. And then I'm grabbing some more of my white gouache. I just kind of want to tap that in. And that gives it that nice variety of the colors of blue that we're working into the water. Okay. All right, so that's perfect for now. And we're going to kind of let that dry a little bit. And I'm going to clean my brush off very good right now. and get all of that gouache off of there. So while we're letting this dry for a moment, I would like to go ahead and ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you're enjoying this project, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you would like to see more of my videos when I post them, hit the little bell and you'll get notified each time I do put up a new video. And so I really appreciate all of your support. It does help my channel grow. And I think you'll enjoy a lot of the upcoming videos that I have, as well as check out my library for some of my past videos. There's a lot of fun stuff on there, and you know, always something different. And I'm sure if you have already seen some of my past videos, then you're aware that I live on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and that's why I have quite a few of the coastal videos that I like to post and that I like to paint, whether it's the floral or the sea life. You know, there's always something so nice that I like to share with everyone. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of dry brushing a little bit into this now, and because I do want it to be just a little bit darker towards the bottom of this. Let's go right along there. And you can make this as loose and imperfect, is that a word? I'm not sure. As you want, because it is the water, and you know, the water, if you're out snorkeling, it's always murky and different tones and shades and just really beautiful and cool underwater. So have fun with that. Okay, so now that I do have that all done, it's still a little damp. And so with that being said, and the turtle itself is still a little bit damp. So to work on the coral portion of this, what I want to do is just grab some of my red, and I'm going to make sure that it's really watered down quite a bit, because I want it to be almost just very light. We're going to add a lot of detail with the markers after it dries. So let me get this all painted in, and I do want to be very careful not to have my colors blending together. If they overlap a little bit, I'm fine with that, but I do want to definitely have that crisp edge on the different, you know, on the turtle as opposed to the coral, and so on and so forth. So all I'm doing is really just tapping into my water and spreading some of this pink or red around. This is actually a crimson red that I'm using, and it's a very muted, watered down color. So let's go around here. And just a little fun fact while I'm painting this in, the turtle nesting season on the Gulf Coast of Florida is from March through October. So it's quite a long season, and that's their entire nesting season. Now, out of that time, the hatching season for them is actually July through October. So the first part of that, you know, the March is when they're actually laying their eggs and building their nests in the sand. And then once the nests start, the little nestlings start hatching, that's usually a little bit later in the summer, around July, and then it does go through October, and there's thousands upon thousands of little turtles that come out of their, you know, their little eggs, or they hatch, and then they crawl out of the sand and head towards the water. And they are very protected, and there are monitors that go out and they monitor the nests throughout the season to make sure that everything is okay. And a lot of times when hurricanes come through, they do affect the nests and you know, damage them, and a lot of the eggs can get lost during a hurricane. So there's just a lot that goes on with it. And it's such a beautiful thing that we have that we can enjoy down here, that not everywhere gets to experience that. And then 3 of the main turtles that we do have in this area, the main one is the loggerhead turtle, but we also get green turtles and leatherback turtles also that nest in throughout the Gulf Coast. And so I just wanted to share that little bit of information with you. And while I'm talking, I'm kind of trying to let this dry a little bit, because now that we have the sand, the base of the sand, the base of the coral, the water, the beautiful blue water, and then the turtle itself, all of the base colors in for those, we want to let that dry before we start adding on top of that. So we're going to give this just a minute, and then we'll continue on with our brush markers and really start adding some details and having fun and bringing this to life. So give us just a minute. I'll be right back and we'll continue on. Okay, perfect. So this has dried completely, which is exactly how we want it to be, so that we can continue on. And so what we'll start with is down on the sand portion of this, and I am taking one of my brush markers, and I just kind of want to add in a little texture to the sand bottom. And not a whole lot. I do want it to be a little darker, you know, up towards the top, or the, yeah, I guess the top of the sand. And then as we come down, it can get a little more sparse. And this is where you can really have a lot of fun and do as much or as little, you know, as you want. And you can kind of play with it and see, you know, what works, what kind of trips your trigger. You know, you do you, and have fun with it. Okay, so we'll leave that for now. And then what I want to do is start on the coral part. And so for the coral, we had done the light pink background, and then for the all of the little veins going up, what we want to do is kind of start in the middle. And think of this almost like a tree. And these are going to be the trunks, so to speak, coming up. And this, we want this to be a little thicker. And then as it goes up, it thins out, obviously. Okay, so then from here, we start to trail off and create all of our little limbs. And then this is just a fun process. And you know, it's all of the little details that will come from this part of it. And so you can tell it, I have a hard time talking while I'm concentrating on my drawing, and I do apologize for that. I'm trying to kind of focus on one thing and explain it to you, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. I think you kind of can see what I do have going on here, though, and how it's coming to life. So nice. And then as you get towards the top, you can do some lighter. And when I say lighter, I mean in width. You know, make it finer. And these are kind of just coming up. Here we'll go like this and make it look like it's coming from behind the sea turtle, which that's exactly what is happening. And so you just want to do, a lot of fine lines and just kind of do as much or as little. I would say, pretty much more detail is going to really make it pop. So take a few minutes and really work on this, and put all of your lines in. If you've ever gone snorkeling and seen the coral down below, the beauty of it is just unbelievable. And that's what we're trying to emulate here is, just the beauty and the detail of all of the coral that is below the surface. So I have that, and then I think what I want to do also on top of that is I'm going to lay these over here so you can kind of see the colors that I have used as we're going forward. And so I'm going to grab, this is kind of a corally color, it's a little bit different. And this is just going to add a little bit of texture and color and depth and brilliance to the coral. Because it's really not one color, there are multitudes of color with the coral. So I'm gonna just be quiet for a minute here and kind of focus on creating the life of the coral as I go along. So give me just a minute. You can see as I'm filling this in, using the two different colors really does add a lot to it. If you wanted to add 3 colors, that would be pretty cool too. There again, you do you. And as you're creating this, you want it to definitely be yours, your own. And no two pieces are going to look the same, and we all know that. And that's the beauty of art, is each piece is an original for sure. So we'll leave that as it is for the moment. Well, you know what, actually I do want to do one more thing with this. I'm going to now I'm taking a red, and I do want to kind of outline. This one isn't working too well. All right, let me grab this one. This is another red. Okay, and so with this I'm just kind of going around the edges, because many times coral does have a distinct edging on it, and with this being yet a third color with the coral, it just kind of adds a little bit to it. Okay, so I'll put that there so you can see those. And now let's get started on the turtle. And so for the turtle, I do want to add a little bit of purple. And the purple, I'm going to do some of the, the spots, I'm not even sure what they're called, but just some of their spots and textured areas on the back of the turtle. Because really, depending on what kind of a turtle it is, they do have a lot of different colors. And then of course with some of the stuff that grows on them from being in the water, they do have a lot of different colors and textures. Okay, and then I kind of want to come around the edge with this. And then I'm going to grab yet another purple because I do want to add just a couple different shades in here, and it's very subtle. But this is almost like the rim. There's a lot of times turtles do have almost like a layer or a shelf on their layer. A layer of a shelf. I'm not sure how to say that. Okay, and then I think actually with this color I want to add just a little bit up around his nose and on the back of his neck here. All right, and then let's put that over there. I keep putting it in the wrong spot, and I do apologize for that. So with this is a almost like a black. I'm not sure what color this is even called. I'm going to just kind of pencil in the mouth and then very lightly, and we'd want this to be just a little loose and abstract, so to speak. Okay, so we got the eye drawn in along with a little bit of an eyeball. And I'll put that over there. So you can see I'm using a lot of different colors of my markers, which that is what is kind of adding to the dimension of the turtle itself. And so with this, I want to take and do some spots along the fins or the legs of the turtle, and many times they start out pretty large, and then as they go down towards the end they do get smaller. And then with this, I'm just kind of drawing a little bit of an outline to emphasize, you know, this fin as opposed to the other one. And so then for the back leg, they don't really have toes, so to speak, but I do want to make just a little bit of a differentiation. That's a tough one too. Okay, and I'm just kind of adding in a little bit of texture here on the fins. And then of course some dots to add a little character, and I add dots to everything. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I absolutely love my dots, but I think they just add a little bit of character and texture to everything. And a few dots goes a long way, so they say. Okay, or so I say anyway. All right, and I think I'm going to grab this purple and just kind of emphasize a little bit on the tail portion once again. And then I want to add just a few little textures throughout, not everywhere, but just, you know, on the ends of some of these spots. All right, and then I think actually just to separate the shell of the turtle from its neck and head. And I'm feeling like I just need to add a little bit down through here. This might be overkill, but There again, that's okay. All right, so tell you, I'm almost looking at this and wanting to kind of go around, and instead of using this purple, I think I will go back and grab this dark brown and just kind of come around and highlight the, you know, the edges. And I'm not doing a solid line, I'm just kind of sketching it in. Then I'm going to go right around here. I really don't even know if this was necessary. I just kind of felt it needed it. And down here I want to add, and looking at this now, I do want to add just a little bit more. And it's just a lot of little lines and squiggles and dots, and you know, to add some texture to the bottom of the ocean. Okay. Okay, so that really is pretty much all I want to do to this. And like I said, it's just a fun little turtle drawing, painting, and it's creative in the sense that I'm using my brush markers along with my watercolor paints, which I don't do that often, but it is kind of fun to do from time to time and shake things up a little bit and give it a fun, whimsical look. And so I think I've accomplished that today. And that is all for today. And until next time, ciao for now.